Right. This morning we will have Dr. Natalia Pakotina. She is an instructional associate professor in the Department of Economics at the Texas A&M University. She teaches principle of economics, economic development, contemporary economic issues, and with over a decade of experience in higher education, she teaches a wide range of courses, from introductory principles classes to upper level courses in both small and large enrollment settings. Dr. Pakotina has been at the forefront of implementing innovative pedagogical strategies, particularly project-based learning and active learning approaches in her large classes. Her commitment to enhancing student engagement and learning outcomes has been recognized through several teaching grants, including the High Impact Instructional Innovations Grant, or H3I, and the Digital Learning Faculty Support Grants. He also serves as a member of the Center for Teaching Excellence Advisory Board at Texas A&M University. Her research and professional interests include public economics, economics of education, and the application of learning technology in economic instruction. Natalia, feel free to start your presentation.
Everybody. So a lot of already had been told about me, so I don't want to spend much time on this slide. Just wanted to share that I have completed several courses from the EQ, and that actually was very, very beneficial for me. Like that was the start of my journey on exploring how we can teach efficiently, and inspiration for to participate in many communities that Center for Teaching Excellence offers. And currently, I'm part of the Generative AI learning community. And all people who are part of this community are participating in this series here from peers to share what we have been doing with the generative AI in our classes. And I cannot tell that that's already like a perfectly well developed approach. We are in process of finding what works, what doesn't work. And my goal today would be to share what I tried to do as a part of this learning community in my class in this academic year. And I don't know how many people we have, but it looks like not a lot. And I actually wanted to get some understanding of who is here today and what is like your current experience with using generative AI. For example, do you use generative AI when you prepare for your classes? And whether you talk with your students about it? And do you have some rules for the students, how they can use it? What is your overall feeling? Like, you prefer to just forbid using it, or on the opposite, do you encourage students to use it and things like this? So if we don't have a lot of people, then maybe we can like start with this brief conversation introduction.
Yeah, this is Moata Silan Homeira. I actually used AI in my graduate class last semester. I had quite detailed rules on what to do and what not to do, and I let them use it. I encouraged them to use it, and I put, again, very detailed statements in my syllabus, and I asked them. There were certain assignments that they were supposed to use it, but I told them that they can also use it for their other assignments. But if they use it, they have to acknowledge they used it, and they have to let me know how much they used it and what AI they used. But not even one student came to me and acknowledged that. And by the end of the semester, there were 3 students. I could see a very like 99%, 100% pattern that they were using AI. I approached them. One of them said no, and I'm almost sure she had used it. I mean, the format, it was really elaborate, and the speech she would submit. The other 2 said yes, but they didn't tell me how. And I had to meet with both of them. And one of them was actually, I noticed hallucination in her citations. And once I told her, she said, okay, why should it matter where I found this resource from? And we went as far as her counselor being involved and she apologizing. And, I don't know, I made it very clear that they can use it and I encouraged them to use it, but they didn't use it responsibly. And it was a graduate class. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank
Very
you.
disappointing.
Anybody else wants also to share? Oh, okay, so if nobody else wants to share, let's me move on. And I want to tell a little bit how I started to use ChatGPT myself and what was my journey with this application. And so I first started to use it about 1 year ago. And one colleague just came to me and he talked to me about how we can use generative AI, and he suggested me to try it to create multiple choice questions for the quizzes and exams. And so that he showed me that we can upload document like PDF file, for example, to the ChatGPT and ask create multiple choice questions. And I tried this, and that was really important for me because in class that I teach, my students choose the papers that they want to read for the class. And so each semester I may have 20 new papers. And I don't have prepared materials for these papers, and I have to create new quizzes and new exams. And so I found that that would be very useful for myself to start using this assistance to create questions. And when I ask ChatGPT to create questions, it comes with a lot of questions very easily, very fast. But usually these are not very good questions. And I still need to review them, to edit them, and maybe change some distractors to make them less obvious or better looking. But still, it saves my time. It comes with ideas so that it's easier to find ideas, what to do questions about, and to do it faster. And so that was my first experience. And here I had an example in my slides how the prompt, for example, may look. And this is a prompt for my course, economic development. I have a textbook, and so I would ask, for example, generate 5 multiple choice questions, three true false questions about this particular topic based on this chapter in this textbook. And then I just have all these questions generated in a moment. I don't know how, whether you use this approach or not, but this is example for this prompt. This is what ChatGPT has generated. So we have 5 multiple choice questions and 3 true false questions for this particular topic based on this particular material. And so definitely it's a good example how Instructor can benefit from the use of AI to prepare for the classes and to prepare materials. And so starting with this, then eventually I started to use it, for example, to write rubrics or to write instructions for the students and to write recommendation letters. For example, I have some basic letter where I need to change, for example, what is the grade of the student, where the student applies, and some specific details. But again, a lot of parts in the letter could be similar if it's the same course, for example, that I had the student in, and to draft proposals and to edit my own writing for the grammatical mistakes and so on. And you know that the more I practice myself to use it for my needs, the more I reflected on the student side of this process, so how it looks from the point of student and what they can do, like what assignments that we give them they can do with the chat GPT or some other generative AI platform. And these are my reflections. So reflections that are based on my own experience of what I'm doing with this platform. And I think that there is no way that we can effectively forbid students to use it. We cannot effectively detect it, especially if students are proficient and they know how to do some changes or how to write prompts, so we cannot detect it. And then if we have this policy that we do not allow students to use it, then and we cannot enforce it. So like on the one hand, we cannot enforce it. On the other hand, we will have students who would still use it and students who would comply with the rule. And that would create some unfairness, that it would not be benefiting those who are honest students, those who would actually not use it. And then I also think that, like, based on my experience, it helps me so much to do some routine tasks that it's important for us to teach our students how to use it, because when they will be in the modern labor market, they need to know how to use it and how to use it in the best way, responsible way, and efficient way. They need to know how to write prompts. They need to know how to do, how to check whether it's hallucination or not. And I also felt that socially disadvantaged students are less likely to use generative AI while they're in school, because they don't have money for subscription, for example, and maybe because they people that they are communicating a lot to, their family, their friends, are less likely to use it, so less likely to share this experience. And that we still have some students who never tried it. And these are probably socially disadvantaged students, and so when they will go to the labor market, they also will be at a disadvantaged position, and we need to start introducing use of generative AI in class as a class component. And so I think that we should intentionally and transparently introduce the use of generative AI in our classes. And I think that that would have the benefits that if we intentionally introduce it, then we just make the rule, you always have to report how did you use it. And if, for example, I require them to use it, then they always have to describe that this is what I did, this is my prompt, this is what I got from this prompt, and this is how I changed it, this is how I checked the results, and so on. So I think that we need to move toward this approach where we allow students to use it to achieve the product that is required by this assignment, but that they can explain how they used it, and they can kind of prove that it's not a plagiarism, and that they had their personal input in this assignment. On the other hand, we will, by incorporating it into the classwork, we will improve literacy of students, how to use it, and we can gradually teach them how to use it ethically and effectively. And if they would practice it a lot in class environment, and if they will feel safe that they can get these hallucinations and realize these are hallucinations, so that they can find what errors they can get if they use it, what are the limitations, and they can improve the prompt skills, and they can see what is the difference when it's a human work and when it is a work done with the support of generative AI. So that would also give them some perspective, maybe when it's better to supplement their work and when it's obvious that, for example, we need some human contribution and human creativity in this particular assignment, which artificial intelligence cannot provide. And this was the moment when I joined this Generative AI faculty learning community. And in this community, we discussed a lot of things like what I'm talking about right now. And we learned about different tools, which we can use. And then as a part of this community, all participants incorporated generative AI into their classes. And there were no any strict rules. So it could be small intervention or big intervention. It could be more like from the side of the teacher, like preparation for the class, or it could be part of the activities the students do. And I chose one of my classes that I teach in the fall, which is upper level class, where we have students who soon will be graduating. So they're close to moment when they will need the skills for the labor market. It's also the smallest class that I teach. I usually teach large classes. So like it's typical for me to have 250 students in one class. So 60 students was the smallest one. And I prefer to try it at a smaller scale before trying to copy it to the bigger classes. And also it is a discussion-based class. And it involves a lot of readings. So like, for example, using generative AI to summarize text could be helpful for this type of the class. And at the same time, students still need to know the material because we will be talking during the class. So if they would not read the paper and would just rely on the summaries from the generative AI, then probably they would not be able to participate well in discussions. And they also have a group project, where they analyze some economic issue. And so my intervention, this introduction of the AI component in this class, started with the open discussion with students at the beginning of semester. So I just on the first class, I told them, guys, I want you to use generative AI in this class. And I want to give you why I'm doing this, so my motivation, why it is important, and what is the goal of this. So basically what I told you at the beginning of this presentation, that why it is important, I discussed it openly with the students. And then I asked them that let's set the rules. And it was not me who was writing these rules for them, and I didn't copy it from someone else. I just told them, I divide you in small groups, groups of 4 or 5 students, and I want you to talk in your group. What do you think would be appropriate use of the generative AI in this class, and what would be inappropriate use of the rules? And so students spent some time, they talked, and then they posted the rules that they suggest at the discussion board. So I created a discussion board on Canvas, and each group has posted their set of the rules. And another thing that I did is that I introduced it at the margin. So that was a low-stake assignments that would not have a big impact on the overall grade. So I would say about 6% of the grade was related to the use of the generative AI, and 2% were to use it in the group project, and another 4% were distributed across small class activities. We had about 18 class activities, and almost all these activities had some use of the generative AI. So it was, each of these activities had a very low impact on the overall grade. And we were generous when we were grading this activity. So it's not that they were punished a lot if they were not able to use it well. And next I have created some structured activities to do in class to achieve my goals. And so my main two goals were to improve the literacy of the students to use in the usage of generative AI. And the second goal was to move it from informal sector to formal sector so that everybody uses it. Everybody explains how they used it. So that they always have to officially write a report on how it was used. And then I also wanted to encourage students to use it for the quantitative data analysis, which was not part of the project before. So until this year, the project was mostly descriptive, like they just search for the materials, summarize them, and present. And this was the first year when I wanted to move them into the analysis of some data, or maybe visualization of the data. And I asked them to use generative AI for this part of the project. And let me skip this slide because I already talked. And so students discussed in small groups the rules, and they posted it at the discussion board. And then I copied all the replies. And I asked, here's example, for example, one of the groups, Fantastic Four group, what they have suggested as rules for the use of the generative AI. And I had 10 groups, so 10 groups made their suggestions. And I have copied all their responses, and I have used ChatGPT. I gave these responses to ChatGPT and asked her now, based on all the suggestions, create a list of the rules for the class. And here is a class document that was created. And I hope you can see the rules because I'm sharing my screen. I'm not sure if you can see it right now. Let me know if not.
We can.
You can. Okay. So put so that's was created by students and summarized by the generative AI. And we got the set of the rules. And let me get back to the presentation. And then each week, each class actually, so twice a week, I was dividing students randomly into groups of 5. So they always were with the different classmates in each class. And then we were discussing some particular topic during the class. And after discussion, I was given assignment for them to complete as a group. And it was exactly the same assignment. But half of the groups were asked to complete this task without using generative AI. And another half of the groups were required to use it, so that it was just like, you have to use it. And another part, you have not to use it. And then they would work together on this assignment. And at the end of the class, I would ask them, could you please share your results and your experience? So did you like, for example, using generative AI? Did you have any problems? Were you able to get these results from the first attempt and things like this? And so they were sharing the results. And I'm going to show, for example, one of these assignments. So during the class, we studied financial crisis of 2008, and they have read a paper about financial crisis, and we were talking about what were the main reasons why the crisis happened, and what was the timeline of the crisis, what were the major events. And then at the end of the class, I told them, let's create a concept map, so that on the concept map, you need to describe these major events and the major causes of the financial crisis. And on this slide, you can see what was my assignment. So those groups that were not using generative AI, I gave them paper and markers. And I said, so use markers and create this concept map on the paper, and then you will submit it to me. And then for another half of the groups, I told them you can open your computer and you can use any generative AI platform to help you to create concept map that will show the housing bubble and which factors, policies affected to the formation of this bubble. And then when you submit your document, you need to include the prompts and you need to explain how did you use it and the outcome, what ChatGPT has created, and then your conclusion on whether it was helpful, have provided accurate information, and whether you think it was easier to do this assignment with use of the ChatGPT than without. And here are two examples of what was created by the groups that were not using generative AI with markers and paper, and two examples that were created using generative AI on the left. And I think that it was interesting also for students to look on the results, like what those who were equipped with the generative AI have accomplished and those who were not equipped, that they can see the difference and they can understand what that, for example, we have quite different concept maps. On the left, much more complicated and much more simple version, so that how you write the prompt and how you use generative AI may lead to quite different results. And that it's also quite easy for me, for example, to see who used generative AI and who didn't use generative AI if I would give this assignment without specifically telling them which group should use it and which group should not. And then this is another example. This is example of summarizing data. So we have discussed macroeconomic theory debates, and then again I gave the assignment that half of the groups need to summarize the result of our discussion, what we have discussed during the class, and to find one example that was not from the paper. So some new example. And another group should do the same, but they're allowed to use generative AI. And so I see that I only have 15 minutes left, so I'm not going to show again results of this activity, just will show you examples of the activities that we used. And here is another example from another class where I tried to encourage students to do data collection and visualization. So that I asked them to collect data and to create a spreadsheet that they can use ChatGPT to create it, and that they need to carefully check where this data came from. And they need to go to the links and see that that's actually correct data, and then to visualize this data. And then I also wanted them to try to use generative AI to do simulation, like that they have data set and that they would use generative AI to simulate what if this was never implemented, this reform, or what if there would be no change in this legislation, and so on. And what I studied from this activity that students were not able to do some of this part. So they are allowed to use ChatGPT, but they just don't know how to do it. So most of the groups were not able to do simulations and to do visualizations. So they found data, but not all of these tasks actually they were able to complete. Which leads us to the that if I want to continue to do this in future, I need to teach them actually how to do simulations and how to do visualization, because just like sitting in the class with the classmates who might be more experienced usually is not enough for them to learn how to do this. And what I want to share, because I have limited time, I will skip some slides because I want to go back to my conclusions and reflections from this experience. And for like what worked, I think that definitely students learned a lot about how to use generative AI and how to use it in the responsible way. And as I told, for more advanced tasks like data analysis, simulation, visualization, I need to invest more in developing structured assignments that would just guide them through how to do this, giving them examples of the prompts and so on, because this part didn't work well. And I also did a pre-survey and post-survey before we started the semester. And when we finished the semester, I asked students to ask questions about the proficiency with generative AI and overall the experience from this class. And so this was before we started semester. And I asked, have you ever used these tools? And you see that while majority of students have used it, still there were a couple of students who never tried it before. And I also asked what was the main reasons why they are not using it. And do they use a premium access? So some premium account. And most of the students answered that they don't have subscription, so they never tried premium account, and they do not feel the need for this. And about 23% told that they do not have subscription because they cannot afford it. It's a cost-related reasons. And here are some, like I also asked them to write how do they feel about using ChatGPT-4 in class and whether they think it would be valuable. And while most of them had been quite positive about using it, so they were excited, there were also people who say that I don't like the idea of using AI in class. So we had people who were like opposing this as well. And at this point, I remember that I was thinking, would they drop the class because of this? But fortunately, people stayed. So even if they didn't want to do this, I still decided that, well, if it is required, I will use it in class. And then I had, after the post-survey, to compare the results. And so this question is, how would you rate your proficiency with the AI tools? And I see big improvement here. So like people who never used it before, they started to use it. So we do not have people who do not use it anymore. And those who were intermediate users, many reported that they became fluent users now. And those who were beginners probably moved to the intermediate user category. So I think that this use it in class on like every class basis actually helps them to become more proficient. And asked if they started to use subscription. And about 47% answered that yes, I started to use premium access. But still about 52% did not use it as a premium counts. And The next question is, did class activities help you to learn about what ChatGPT can assist with? And you see that 75% answered that yes, significantly, and 25% that it somewhat helps them to understand. And then the next question is whether they were able to understand the limitations and how to use it responsibly. And again, there is very positive outcomes that 85% answer that yes, the understanding of the limitations has significantly improved. And the next one was about quantitative data analysis. If they learned how to use it for the quantitative analysis, and here about 60% replied that yes, their understanding significantly improved, even if I feel that that was the weakest part and that it didn't work as intended in this particular area. And then so that was for my fall course, and in spring 2025, currently I am trying to use some of this in the economic development course. And I use the same approach to define the rules at the beginning of the class, so that they also have posted the rules, how we can use it. And in this class, students are doing project where they analyze a developing country. And last year, like 1 year ago, I had the feeling that for this assignment, definitely generative AI can be used, and that I do not have any boundaries defined, and I do not have anything like to distinguish whether students actually did this work themselves or whether they use ChatGPT or some other generative AI. And so I decided this year I will also ask them to do a report and reflection on the use of the generative AI. And I'm going to show you the instructions about this part. And this is the instructions for the project itself, and it has infographic part, and then it has analytical part, which is writing part, and then there is generative AI application report and the reflection that everybody has to submit to get full credit for this assignment, where I have identified what are the possible use for the AI in the project. And then I also suggested what they always should do. So like I wrote that always verify sources that are suggested by the artificial intelligence. And if you obtained any data, then do a fact check that that's real data. And adhere to these rules that we have set at the beginning of semester as a class. And if you want to use it for writing, then it's either to outline or draft the report, but then you should refine and develop the content yourself, or you can use it for the grammar and style editing once you have written the text. And then I also provided information that they have access to Microsoft Copilot and Google Gemini. And I also was offering some assistance if they want to buy premium access to ChatGPT. I have a grant for this. And there was also required elements what they need to include in the report, so that they need to explain how it was used. And if it was used for data collection, then they have to describe how they verified its accuracy. And if they used it for the writing assistance, then they need to outline what was the personal contribution. They need to provide screenshots of the prompts that they have used, and to write a reflection on what worked well and what did not work well on this particular assignment when they used generative AI. Well, and so that's just a copy from the document. And we have 5 minutes left. That's the end of my presentation. And if there are any questions, or if you want to share what are your thoughts about this project, because I'm going to continue it in future. So if you have any suggestions, any criticism, that would be interesting. And
All right, thank you
any
for
questions?
presenting. There are questions on the chat. I will stop the recording first.